And I think as well, the world that we live in, with all of its ideologies and so on, and materialism being an ideology as well, distorts that perception of who human beings are as well, right? That's really fascinating. In your book as well, you write a lot about the dogma of the church and original sin. And you really go hard on this. Can you tell us why? And why have you put this into the book? And can you expand upon this, which is very interesting, but it's also very direct as well. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. So I call this assumption that we're naturally aggressive and you can't change human nature. I call that at the heart of many things which are incorrect in the way in which we approach life. And so, for instance, there's a disastrous assumption which is taught only in Christianity, in a pseudo-religious teaching, that man is essentially sinful and is born in sin. And this is known as the concept of original sin.
I'll just put myself in a bathtub then, trying to wash myself out from this original sin.
Okay. It proclaims that every newborn baby inherits the guilt of Adam and Eve, the first sinners, for disobeying the instructions of God when in the Garden of Eden.
And they're screwed, aren't they?
And the instructions were forbidding them to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So from that, the concept of original sin has been taught and taken on board, especially in Christianity. You won't find it in any other major religion. And my feeling is that immature minds over the centuries have elaborated this assumption, unfortunately, and which in actual fact is one of the characteristics of the foundation of church doctrine. And, many reasons why it's still going today, but I think we have to look at how we can free ourselves from outdated, immature understandings to enable us to realize our true reality, which is so important underneath the heading of true loss is for him whose days have been spent in utter ignorance of himself. So if we're talking about all the evil coming from original sin, that's, from a Baha'i point of view, it's an incorrect way of looking at our reality and our difficulties inside the way in which we function.
Doesn't Abdu'l-Baha as well say that every child is potentially the light of the universe, but at the same time it's darkness as well?
Yeah. I mean, going out into space now, the light of the universe, I'm sure that would be wonderful.
Sorry, light of the world. I got it wrong. That's it. I'm trying to be expensive, guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sorry. Well, I quoted wrong, but we are talking about intergalactical planets and going off into space and stuff. Yeah. Light of the world, not light of the universe.
Yeah. Every child is potentially the light of the world, and at the same time it's darkness. But, another thing that Abdu'l-Baha said, and that's a very important quotation you just said there, Callum. And in another place, Abdu'l-Baha says that every individual is born holy and pure, and only thereafter may become defiled. So every little born baby is not born in sin and with sin, is come into existence born pure and holy. That's a radical change to think that we're born sinners.
Do you think as well, dogmatism, not just Christianity, but dogmatism in religion has skewed and distorted man's perception on its true nature?
Yes, it has a tendency to do that throughout the ages, but I think again, this is another subject that has gone into in the book further along, but it's to do with the traditions and the rites and the rituals and the theologies that come from all religions, which to a large part are not found within the holy scriptures of the particular religions. And these have become dominant features of how people think of religion. They don't think extensively about the fact that religion is the revelation of holy, wonderful insights and directives and laws from our Maker sent through the founders of all the great religions. So their scriptures are particularly important rather than the theologies, rites and traditions which have been built up through various interpretations of those scriptures. And in many cases, we don't find their acceptance or their affirmation within the scriptures. For instance, in Christianity, Christ said, "Call no man father." And then you look into what's happened with regards to the way Christianity is structured in many aspects. The word father is used time and time again to refer to a religious leader.
I think as well, if we're talking about dogmatism, not just within Christianity, but dogmatism in general in religions, it's usually been the priests and the clergy, or the people with. You highlighted this before when you spoke about what Prophet Muhammad said about that nobody can make partners with God. And that, I think that's what a lot of the priests and the clergy have done, and then espouse this very theological, ritualistic ways of thinking within religion, rather than understanding human beings' true nature, which inherently is to be spiritual, right?
Yeah. But just to add a little thing to that, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I was an atheist, because I couldn't accept these rituals and dogmas and so on, because many of them just didn't cohere with scientific understandings and developments. And in the Baha'i writing, it said science and religion must go hand in hand, because they're two knowledge systems which God has given us, but that we can benefit from.
Exactly. And I think as well is that when we understand what the essence of what true religion is, or spirituality, then it gives us those instruments to fight off materialistic assumptions or materialism in itself. You talk about God a lot, and as we said, we are Baha'is who believe in God. You talk about we are a creation of God, and this can be the primary tool to overcome human beings' aggressive nature. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. I think getting to the heart of this chapter is the passage that you said earlier, that every child is potentially the light of the world, and at the same time it's darkness.
Not the universe.
Not the universe.
Not there just yet, guys. We're not the universe just yet. We're trying to get there. Yeah. We spoke about dinosaurs going into Mars before, and so on. And it's not potentially every dinosaur is the light of the universe. It's the world, guys. The world.
The world.
Sorry.
Very important, yeah. What it's saying in that passage is that we have a high nature and we have a low nature. We have a light nature, L-I-G-H-T, and a dark nature. And all of us are born with that possibility of going towards our light nature or our dark nature. And we need to go into that a little bit more. But all of us, as I said earlier, are born holy and pure, but with that potential to go one way or the other. In the writings of Baha'u'llah, he uplifts us with understandings about our high nature, about our light nature, and declaring what it really means to be human. He says, for instance, that God has created us rich, and God has bountifully shed his favor upon us, and he's made us with the hands of power and with the fingers of strength. And also that within us, God has placed the essence of his light. And man is created noble and molded out of the clay of God's love. These are tremendous insights into our high nature reality. So we have all that possibility to become a noble creature, a noble creation of God, with all these virtues that you identified earlier as virtues, our forgiveness, our kindness, our compassion, our mercy, our generosity, all these wonderful virtues and so on, our trustworthiness, our honesty. That's all inherent in the noble side of our nature, the nature which is our light nature. But on the other side, we have our dark nature with those qualities, or not qualities, they're characteristics of being aggressive, cruel, revengeful, spiteful, angry, all those negative things of our lower nature. And the main thing is that to know ourselves, we need to know that we have this potential to develop our light nature, or potential for these characteristics of our lower nature to dominate. But if we're always saying that we're always going to be aggressive because we have that lower nature, then this is a distortion of an understanding of our reality, because our higher nature can overcome the lower nature, and it's the only way to overcome. So, for instance, and it says it in so many scriptures of all the religions, that you don't overcome hatred by hatred. Buddha said, hatred does not cease by hatred alone. Hatred ceases by love. This is an eternal law. So hatred is overcome, the lower nature quality of hatred is overcome by the higher nature quality of love. So impatience is overcome by patience. And all the other qualities to keep that potential of aggression in the place which is controlled by the higher nature. Because there's one thing that we, again, within the Baha'i texts, Baha'i understandings, is that as long as we have a human body, we will have this lower nature, which is animal in tendency, animal instincts to struggle for the survival of the fittest. You know, the competitiveness, the aggressiveness that's there just to get what they want without any sacrificing whatsoever. So, you know, this is a huge development in the way of thinking that we need to take on so as we don't distort our understanding of our own reality.